the priorities of your library in the same way that you have lots of really clear FAQs and databases already on your website. So we talked a little bit earlier about how there are some issues around merchandising staff tech support, because one of the big issues is that there's a lot of different tech support pieces to ebooks. I wish I could say it was easy. It's not. We're talking about multiple services, multiple devices, between Amazon and Barnes & Noble and Apple. We're talking a lot of really big companies that feel free to release new devices with new requirements and changes basically whenever they feel like it. And that's something that can be hard for librarians to keep up with, especially librarians who maybe don't do much ebook training themselves. If anybody has any great tips or questions about how you have done staff tech support in your library and how you get more staff on board and feeling more comfortable, please feel free to share them in the chat, because this is something that I think a lot of libraries are struggling with. Like I said, I think it deserves a webinar in and of itself. But when you start asking yourself these questions to say, what training are staff receiving and which staff members? For example, I think when most libraries start out with ebooks, it tends to just be a handful of staff members, usually technology librarians or maybe a couple reference librarians who learn about these ebook issues. It's time to start asking ourselves, is this something that everyone should be trained on to some level? I know every library is going to answer that a little bit differently. Should this be part of basic training when we first hire somebody? Do we do annual training to update people on all the new services? When we launch a new service, or if a service we already use has a big upgrade, how are we communicating that to patrons? Do we simply say we can't support everything and focus on a couple of devices that we know most of our patrons use and ask people to sign up for one-on-one sessions otherwise? Oh, good, there's some great stuff coming through.